and we said somebody brought up something cool, right? Something dope. It's something that kind of made sense, right? In the hip hop world, if Common is the Martin Luther of hip hop, Chuck D has definitely got to be the Malcolm X. Hey, we are the Super Friends of Sampling, the trio of sample tracks. We are the Beat Connection. I am your man, I guess kind of pseudo host, intro guy, whatever you want to call me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you the host.
Shizz Bayless.
Hey,
Shizz Bayless?
Yeah, right. I'm your man, the Can Do Kid, Shizzy Raw Knuckles if you want to fight. But hey, to my left, your right, I have singer-songwriter and producer
Alexa Gold.
and
Like
got,
that, though.
right. And I got my man to the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Could be on the top, depending on if you reverse the screen or not. You know what I'm saying? Who we got?
Azrael, Dicaprio.
Hey, like I said, we are the Super Friends of Sampling. We are the Beat Connection. Hey,
here we go.
Let's get it.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all that being said, we are going to go in on one of the all-time, you know what I'm saying, great rap groups in hip-hop history.
Yeah.
And also a great solo artist.
Two, and they ain't two. How about that?
Hey. So we'll be talking about P.E., Public Enemy, number one. You know what I'm saying? Chuck D, Flavor Flav. Ree, I'm going to go ahead and let you set us off.
So, one of my favorite hip-hop records of all time, probably one of the records that introduced me to hip-hop, and Public Enemy. First of all, Chuck D and that whole group, I feel like that whole sound just bogarted my childhood. Like, Public Enemy was my father's favorite group. It was my uncle's favorite group. And my uncle on my mother's side. So it's like, no matter which side of the family I was going to, Chuck D's voice was around.
Mm-hmm.
So, Black Steel and the Hour of Chaos. When I tell you, I heard this record for the first time, I might have been 7 years old. I didn't appreciate what he was talking about then, but I know what I heard touched my soul. I know what he was talking about touched my spirit. And as I got older, the more I listened to that record, the more I understood what he was talking about. Man.
Malcolm to the people.
Yo, all right. So that song is taken from It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. It's just something about that revolutionary sound. And I think we talked about it in the Common episode about how hip hop was just in its earliest stages, it was social commentary. So to open up a record with, I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it and said they were suckers. Oh, we here.
Yeah.
We here.
Yes.
And before we go like too deep into the conversation, because I know the conversation is about the
bro,
there was
I'm not touching none of his lyrical content. I'm leaving that alone.
No, so there was one thing, like, you know how you go on Genius and you kind of recap the lyrics. So there's a lyric in the first verse I guess some people got confused about from a grammar standpoint. So the lyric is they never gave a damn about a brother like me or myself because they never did. So I guess people kind of feel like it's like a grammatical error because of me and myself and all that. But that just goes to show that people don't always listen.
Right.
The emphasis is on the brother like me and myself because they never did. So you're emphasizing Sean's my brother. Sean is a brother like me.
Right.
They don't care about a brother like me or myself. So you can't surface listen to music.
Oh, nah.
You gotta really, like, what is he trying to say? This isn't one of those tautology kind of moments where like it's a double meaning or you're saying the same thing twice. It's like, no, you gotta emphasize, you gotta understand what's being emphasized here.
Right.
You know, he's talking about government not caring about him or his brothers. You know, but that's a tangent. My bad.
No. Yeah.
I get
speak
passionate.
on it.
Fight it.
The original record that the Bomb Squad sampled, the Bomb Squad being Hank Shockley, Q Shockley, G Wid, Chuck D, Vietnam. They sampled Isaac Hayes. I'm gonna butcher this.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah, that hyperbolicsyllabicsesquedalymystic.
I'm gonna give somebody a nice shiny nickel if they can say that without messing it up.
Yeah, hyperbolic syllabic something, whatever it's called.
The song.
Right. Like, you want to take a shot at it?
Because I was gonna. I'm trying to find it. Okay, here we go. It's hyperbolic syllabic esquedalymystic.
Close enough. We'll take it. All right.
I think that's worth 2 pennies.
So you think about when PE was on their rise. This Isaac Hayes record was released in 1969 from Hot Butter Soul, and that album had what's the record? The Walk On By.
Okay.
I didn't. So in one of the early, I think the opening episode of this, we talked about sampling versus covers. I didn't know that Walk On By Isaac Hayes was considered a cover of the Dionne Warwick.
Dionne Warwick.
I didn't know that was considered a sample. A cover, because I'm like, they don't even sound alike to me. I just thought that was interesting.
Okay.
And I also didn't know that because I've heard Walk On By Dionne Warwick 1,000 times. I didn't know that Burt Bacharach produced that for her.
Mm-hmm.
And the rabbit hole I went down for Burt Bacharach when I found out that he worked with Dr. Dre at some point. So to go back, this was like a decade ago. Dr. Dre and Burt Bacharach did like 3 songs together for.
Hold on. Let me reel you back in. Let me reel you back in.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Rabbit hole. But yeah, and you can but but yeah, like, so just the how important that Hot Buttered Soul project was at that time frame of 1969, and just to think about what Isaac Hayes' music has meant to us if you take the samples out of it. And it's gotten to the point where, as much as I love Black Steel and Hour of Chaos, I find myself listening to Hyperbolic a lot more now. Because it feels like it's jazzy, it's soulful, it's
funky.
Easy listening. Yeah, it's easy listening until you find out what this was about.
Lex, what you got?
So for me, like in listening to this song, so first of all, PE, like, I'm familiar with some of their material. I know
Yeah.
like there are people who are like diehard, you know, Public Enemy fans. You know, I'm not that, but I have heard like some of their, you know, more popular music, and I love them. Like I think they are hip hop. They're essential to hip hop culture. They're essential to hip hop music. They changed the landscape of what Black artists could be in terms of like hip hop artists. Just their importance cannot be understated. So like definitely if you're somebody that's like about the culture, or not even that, if you're somebody that just wants to know more about like hip hop music, you know, there's somebody like Public Enemy is a group that you got to know about and take a few listens to. Like you got to. It's essential listening. So for me, like when you pointed out this song, like I was like, okay, like I know like Fight the Power, like I know that, but I never heard this one. And I was like, let me, of course, let me check it out, for the show. And I'm listening to it, and it's when I listen to Public Enemy now, as opposed to like maybe like years ago, as you said, when you were 7, you couldn't like appreciate it. When you're younger, you can't appreciate it. And now it's like with the culture, like the way the culture is changing, like Black culture in America now, the way it's changing, like this music is still so relevant. When you go back and watch the videos, oh my God, like how go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was trying to gather my thoughts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I guess just to kind of like, it's so relevant, and I didn't realize how intense they are. Because sometimes it was just kind of like, damn, like, I mean, it's not scary, but it's just like you realize, like you realize how deep the problems are, like how deep shit, like how deep stuff goes. Just because of like lyrically what they touch on and what they show in their videos is like you can listen all to the party stuff. You can escape with that stuff. With us, you can't really escape with this music. Like you can't do it. And it doesn't mean that there's no, like, I think in their music there's still like, and that's why I love like Flavor Flav's energy, because I think it still brings like that lighthearted touch to it, because I think you need that. It's like the blues, like you talk about the reality of things, but you still add that touch of humor, because that's how Black people are. We've been through so much, but we still got to use, we use the humor as a gift, right? So you still need that to be able to like look at the absurdity of it all. So I think that's kind of like what Public Enemy has done. But Chuck D got it too. Like, don't sleep on him. He got it too. Like, he's not just like, just some hardcore bull who has no sense of humor. I think in order for him to be like that heavy lyrically, I think he has to have a sense of humor somewhere.
That's where charisma comes in.
Right,
and,
right. Absolutely.
I remember reading a article from Scarface. He was talking about Public Enemy, talking about how Chuck D used his voice like an instrument. Like nothing Chuck ever said was just monotone. Even the opening line of "I opened and read it and said they were suckers," like that's not how you talk. Like that's you trying to hit a certain pocket when you're saying things.
Yeah, man.
And you're trying to invoke emotion.
Right.
And I find that Public Enemy's music, to your point, it always kind of found a nice middle ground of like, you can dance to this, but we're gonna dance at the protest.
Right.
Like,
right. So and so I think like to add on to that, it's not like I don't want to make it seem like you can't have any fun. I'm not saying that. I don't mean to imply that. I think it just means that, as you said, like we're dancing at the protest, we're dancing because we're Black, we're dancing because we're happy that we're Black, and like this is like our gift to the world, all the things that we're able to bring because of our Blackness. Not like, oh, you can't just like you know, just escape from reality, you know, like we still want to bring you a dose of reality, but we also want to bring like Black reality is not just all about suffering. It's not all about that. And so that's one thing that I appreciate about their music. And one thing I want to say about the title in itself, Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos, is that for me, when I hear that, now he does kind of allude to like, you know, I think, you know, picking up a gun and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I think what it means to me as well is like, when you talk about somebody stealing something like STEEL, like stealing themselves in a moment where they have to prepare themselves for like the upcoming battle, you know, where they have to prepare themselves for what's to come. Like, and so you gotta like, you know, like put on your armor, you gotta like make your mind strong, you gotta mentally steel yourself because like there's so much that you gotta like fight through. And I think like it's not just about, you know, like picking up, you know, a weapon or whatever. It's also about how Black men have to prepare themselves for what life is, you know, behind bars and what it is at, you know, when they get out. You know, there's so many different ways that you can kind of turn, you know, like that that title. Go ahead.
So let me jump in here.
Yeah, please.
So hyperbolicsyllabicsesquedalymystic.
That's the only way I can remember it.
All right, so I got a couple points on both of these tracks, right? So after sitting and listening to you talk and read, I can definitely see you can hear the passion behind talking PE, and quite frankly, I can honestly say I have the same passion about it too, because again, this is my father's original jersey from back when he got it in 80 whenever, and I've been carrying this thing for as long as he's given it to me. But let me go to the Isaac Hayes track first, right? So when I first put it on, I listened, and I really didn't grab it at first. Meaning, like, I listened, but I wasn't really kind of like feeling it too much, kind of thing. But then, during my preparation, what I do is I literally listen to said tracks over and over, and in doing so, it grew. But not only did it grow, not only did it sprout, it kind of erupted, and I was like, this track is fire, you know? Like, and I always say, and it's crazy, I always say, sometimes you forget, because people get confused when a lot of us as older people or younger kids or older, kind of like teenagers, got introduced to Isaac Hayes was either through Shaft or South Park. Right, it's him being Chef, but you forget how much of a musical influence he had in introducing acts, his musical career, his acting career. You forget how much of a impact he had on the culture.
Right. I was about to say that man is a cultural icon.
And you forget sometimes, because again, unless you came up during that era of when he was a artist and a star in the blaxploitation films, you wouldn't know. You'd be like, oh, that's Chef, not knowing that Isaac Hayes has so much more than that. So with all that being said, when I listening to this track, I was like, yo, this joint is fire. And I always say tracks give me a feeling, and it listening to this song gave me a feeling of like, I feel like I'm the man, listening to this track. Like, and then I always say the reason why I love all of that older music. If you're an impatient person, please don't put on a 9-minute track. Right. But I would beg of you, just like the Curtis Mayfield track, Move On Up. I gotta give all shouts to the band, because how they come on and kill it with that groovy,
Yes.
Like, yo, it goes so hard.
Yeah,
and I sat and I listened to the whole, and I was almost, it's kind of like when you watch a fight and you be like, dang, I wish it was more rounds, yo. Like, I wish they could keep. That's kind of how I felt about this track.
Keep the jam going.
As I'm sipping on my whiskey, like, well, I think it's probably more of a cognac song, but tomato, potato, you know what I'm saying? But it still go hard. Now, to touch on the Public Enemy track, I had to listen to it a little bit because when I caught it, I was sitting there listening to the sample, and obviously you can hear it, and they went heavy on the piano keys. And I was like, yo, them keys, like, you hear it in both tracks, but it almost like it's emphasized in the Public Enemy track. And it just like, it's like, and it's like, oh, like, that joint go hard. It go hard. And not only that, it's like, again, Chuck D is one of those artists who has his own voice. Like, you know, if Chuck D is spit, you know that's Chuck D. Like today, if you hear Bun B, you know that's Bun B. If you hear Scarface, you know that's Scarface. If you hear DMX, you know that's DMX. So Chuck D had his own voice and sound, and I love his ferocious energy that he brings to a track to go along with Flav. Now I'm also touch on Flav because, again, before bringing of technology and all of that, I have to definitely give a shout out because I love the practicality in a lot of things. And when I say that, I mean, when Flav did his little parts, they literally, like, he was on the phone in one room, Chuck was on the phone in the other room, and they just recorded Flav doing his spitting his little pieces through the phone to give it that effect as if he was talking to his homie behind the pen. So I thought that was extra. I thought that was extra dope. But listening to, go for it.
Go ahead. I don't want you to
okay, but listening to both tracks, I'm like, yo, again, they both go hard. Again, like I said, I'm not going to touch anybody listening to Public Enemy. You know the lyrical content behind it, so I'm not going to touch on it. But it's definitely power in both tracks. And the Isaac Hayes song, like we said before, it came off of the Hot Butter Soul album, which dropped in June of '69, which was sampled by the Bomb Squad, by the producers for Public Enemy. The track Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos off the album It Takes the Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. So just to go ahead and put the statistical stuff out there, but I'm heavy on both of these tracks.
Let me say this. So it's been a while since I listened to Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos. So not that I have forgotten what it was about, but kind of like a refresher course.
Right.
And there's a gene, because I think Lex alluded to what Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos meant. If you listen to the song just as is, what he's talking about is he draft dodged and got him in jail. Now he's looking for a CO's gun so he can break out of jail.
So he can break out, right.
So he's telling you a story,
right,
that we all relate to, because it all stems from not having allegiance to a nation that, depending on your perspective, doesn't really care about you.
Right.
And I think the genius in coming up with that record is to go back to the Isaac Hayes original. And when you listen to those lyrics, you might think that's a love song. I did a little digging. The song is about
the people.
The song is about heroin. It's about heroin addiction.
But it's kind of like this. It's kind of like the Me and My Girlfriend, the Tupac track.
Yeah, it's a double entendre.
Right.
Yeah, it's a metaphor. So I'm bringing that up to say, because I think in one of the verses, Isaac Hayes talks about riding a horse or something about a horse, and heroin in the 70s and the 60s was called the white horse. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I think that part of my love for sampling and hip hop kind of digging from one and creating something new from it, to create something so rebellious from a song that may or may not be about heroin addiction. It's just, I think that adds layers. Yeah, allegedly. So I think that just adds layers to the legacy of Isaac Hayes' original.
Right.
And it speaks to the genius of the Bomb Squad and Chuck D to be able to create something so socially aware from something,
But it's crazy though. And Alexis, you said this, Lex, you said this, and how relevant stuff is. And I always think about when we talk about relevancy with older music, which depending on what side of the fence is you're standing on, it could be sad or it could be like, But when I listen to the Temptation song Ball of Confusion, I feel like that song is so relevant to what's going on today. And it's crazy that that track was made so long ago. And the same thing with PE. We're talking about Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos and talking about the content that Chuck D was putting out and spitting. Why is it still relevant today? Like, it may not be as terrible. And again, I'm not going to go too deep into it because it's not the discussion. But for that track to be made when it was made back in '88, and here we are, 2021, halfway into going on to 2022. Right. It's like it's still a relevancy to it. You know what I'm saying? What you got, Lex? You want to ask something?
Honestly, it's a question I really don't want to touch. And the reason why I say that is because it is very deep, and as you said, you can take it in a myriad of ways, but definitely it does make you think, like, what the hell? We couldn't have dealt with this 10, 20 years ago.
We still ain't figured it out.
Like we still haven't figured it out yet. So I think for me, it's such a heavy question. Honestly, it really is. It's such a heavy question. And, that would definitely be like another discussion. I think
that's bonus content. That's bonus content.
Right.
We can talk about that in
we can invite some of the listeners, let us know why you think, definitely certain music is still, so relevant. Because I do think it's important to have that discussion.
Respectfully.
Watch your mouth.
But I do think it is important though to have that conversation. Why is certain music still relevant? To the issues that we have, the social issues that we have going on today. Why is it so relevant? And actually, possibly what songs are still relevant? Like, we know, as you said, Curtis Mayfield, we got Public Enemy, The Temptations, some of these certain songs. Let us know, what songs do you think are still relevant for, today's, generation and the things that we're going through. That would be good to know.
So with all that being said, Reed, what you got on your final thoughts, please, sir?
I'm just thankful that that both of these songs exist. I really am, because one thing I didn't touch on was how I discovered the original Isaac Hayes version in its entirety. I knew that it was an Isaac Hayes sample because I read credits, but I never heard the song by itself. So one day I'm laying in bed and I listen to music at night while I'm laying down. So the song kind of comes on randomly, and I'm like, "What is this? Oh, this is Public Enemy. Oh, this is the original." So I had the same experience that Sean had of like, how did they get that from this?
Right.
And the more I heard it, the more. Now it's on my daughter's playlist, because she likes it. She hears me listening to it all the time. But to speak to Isaac Hayes specifically, the legacy of that record and Public Enemy's sampling of it, we had talked about Lupe Fiasco and P-Rock a little bit. Just Blaze did the exact same thing that Lupe Fiasco's campaign. Just Blaze loved the Public Enemy version so much that he recreated it just as the Bomb Squad did and gave it to the game for the game's Doctor's Advocate project. Okay. I think that song is called Remedy, and I can listen to both of those songs back to back, which only speaks to how good Isaac Hayes' version is.
Right.
I think the Lox ended up sampling the same record in a different way. They sampled the keys the same way the Public Enemy did. They also sampled another part for a song called Savior from one of their was Filthy America, I think is the name of the album that they put out.
So question real quick, who gets the producer credits for the Isaac Hayes track?
Oh, hold on. I wrote that down because I figured that would come up. It is produced by Isaac, Marvell Thomas, Alan Jones, and Al Bell. Marvell Thomas produced for the Staple Singers and the Emotions. Alan Jones has done things with Otis Redding and the Grateful Dead. Al Bell works with Al Green, Huey Lewis and the News, Bruce Springsteen and the Emotions. So all producers kind of overlap each other in different ways.
Okay, right.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that because I did write that down, and meant to mention that earlier.
Okay, Lex, what you got?
So I guess for my final piece, I wanted to add real quick because I think this is kind of like the genius of like a producer's ears. When you have like a really good producer and they able to hear something. The Isaac Hayes track is like nearly 9-10 minutes long. The piece that was taken from it comes after I think minute 7. And it's just a small piece.
Yeah.
It's so when you hear it, so when I went back and when I listened to the Isaac Hayes track, I was like, this doesn't sound like, because like instantly you think, oh well, it's so prominent in the PE track that you're thinking you'll hear it instantly in the Isaac Hayes track. No, it's a small piece after minute 7, and that's when you hear the small bit of keys. It's like when we talked about Pete Rock doing The World Is Yours for Nas, and he took just a small piece that almost could be like, you might like miss it if you don't tune into it, but it's a small piece of Ahmad Jamal's song, and it's like, wow. So it's just like, for me, like the power of a really great producer being able to pick up something, take that small piece and turn it into like a classic, or what becomes a classic, but to be able to turn it into a song that really is like so dope and soulful. I think it's the genius of like the Bomb Squad, because what they did for PE anyway was they would like snatch samples from like everywhere, and just like it was like a musical collage, and they would put it together, and it just kind of created like that incredible iconic music that we know from them. So definitely, for Isaac Hayes as a cultural icon, as a musical, like a legendary figure in music, somebody whose music is incredibly soulful, and I think integral to like what soul music actually, like the way that it's developed through time. I always say, go back and listen, go back and check out Isaac Hayes' catalog, definitely, because I know I need to dig more into his catalog. Definitely me, so check it out with me. And as far as Public Enemy as well, check out their music too, because like I said before in the beginning, if you say you're about the culture, if you say like you're about hip hop, if you're about music and good music, you got to check out some of their songs. Check out the singles. They got a greatest hits like playlist on iTunes, Spotify. Like it's easy, easy, but you got to know like the history, because PE is so for what they did for music, but also Black culture and music, and just the way that they integrated those two things, it changed the landscape of what how hip-hop artists could present themselves as serious Black artists. And I think it's like that's something that can't be understated.
Right. Okay, well, I guess with all of that being said, I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet. Hey, first off, two great, legendary, iconic acts in Isaac Hayes and Public Enemy. You know what I'm saying? Just two legacy acts. I think everybody can agree on that. And with Isaac Hayes is influencing the culture, and then Public Enemy pushing that forward with their content and their influence on the culture as well. Also, I want to say big shout out to all the old heads out here who had the young boys listening to PE. Because again, that's how I was put on. Shout out to my pop, Big Sean. Shout out to you. I love you, Dad. because you was the one who introduced me to him, and I've been rocking with him ever since. You know what I'm saying? We rocked out last time I saw him. We rocked out in the car together, banging that, and it's like, yo, just like old days or whatever. So shout out to all the old heads putting the kids on to PE and continuing to push that message. Whether or not how you receive it is up to you, but at least the message is still being pushed, and quote unquote fight is still going on and continuing with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So with all that being said, like I said before, we are the Sample Friends. Or I messed that up. I screwed that up.
Super Friends.
Yeah. Y'all know what I meant to say.
I like the Sample Friends too.
Hey, I just created a new one. Don't worry, the shirts will be out later. You know what I'm saying? But we are the Super Friends of Sample. We are the Beat Connection. I am boom, boom, boom. Your man Shizz, the Can Do Kid. To my left, your right, we got
Alexa Gold here.
Oh, and to the bottom we have
Azrael Dicaprio.
And again, I said we are the Beat Connection. Hey, continue to fight the power.
Yeah.
Fight the power.
Yes. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Make sure to comment. Let us know what you want us to discuss in the next episode. Let us know what message, what songs that you feel like are message music for this generation. And also what songs you think, it's definitely still relevant today, and they might have came out like 20, 30 plus years ago, but let us know like what songs are still relevant for today. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for rocking out with us. We'll see you in the next episode. Till then, peace, y'all. Take care of yourselves.
Can do.